Hello, how are we doing? Welcome to the weekly live. This is the Shift Hub Live where we talk about various topics around sustainability, climate change, the environment, good old Mother Earth. And so today I want to talk about the green economy. This is an area that I am really interested in. Not an expert in this area, but it is such an important part of our transition into a more sustainable economy. And the green economy is here. I mean, it's already such a big part of the global and individual national economies. Essentially, to kind of paraphrase what it really is ultimately a way for us to support more and more environmental conservation and sustainable development so that ultimately we can create this more circular, regenerative, and distributive economy. And that's really what a green economy is about. It's supporting more and more green cash flow into the economy so that these projects that are going to help, as I said, sustainable development and environmental conservation take that next level of transformation through economic growth. So it's about continuing to support growth in a way that it is regenerative and distributive. So it's good for the environment, it's good for people, and we can still thrive and grow through that economic value. So in a green economy, there is a promotion, of growth, there is a promotion of jobs, there's a promotion of things like renewable energy, sustainable agriculture, ecotourism, all of those things, with the view that there is a much reduced or negative impact on the environment. Sorry, negative in the sense that there's no impact on the environment. And so a green economy, it really is about sustainable growth that considers all of the four capitals: natural capital, environmental capital, natural capital, social capital, human capital, and of course, economic growth, economic capital. And in a green economy, we want to be able to see more and more better use of our money through things like renewable technology, clean technology around solar, wind, geothermal, hydro, all of those amazing things. In a green economy, there is much less waste, there are much less landfills, and these landfills no longer have a use because those previously seen as waste is now resources that are fueling the economy, fueling various commercial systems. And so there is less waste in landfill, there is less pollution in the air, the health system is improved, and there's reduced, because of the reduced pollution, reduced wastage, cleaner access or better access to clean water, clean food systems. There is so many different changes that happen through a green economy. And this is why this is a really important transition. And we're already seeing these transitions, these steps that are being taken by governments around the world who are supporting a green economy. So if you are staying online with me, I can see a couple of you on LinkedIn. Say hello. Tell me where you're calling in from or where you're joining in from. And yeah, today we're going to be talking more about a green economy. So some examples of this happening around the world will include Germany, great country, already has a national energy policy in place. And as a result of their policy in place now, 25% of the country's electricity comes from renewable resources. It's actually more now. This statistic is from a report a few years ago. But the point is that was already seen in a few years of having this policy in place, the growth in renewable energy. Similarly, in Australia, we've had huge growth with our transition into a more clean, renewable energy system, where now our renewable energy supports around 31.5% of our energy consumption. So there's a huge change even in the Australian market as a result of the energy market shifting. Costa Rica, for one, they're set to become, carbon neutral by 2050, and they've made a commitment to this. And there's investments not only in renewable energy, but in ecotourism, because tourism is a big part of countries like Costa Rica and their growth and their commercial viability. And so in order for them to continue to see that growth, continue to see that viable green growth, they're supporting initiatives around ecotourism, around renewable energy, where their country can continue to fit into this green space. They can create these systems where nature and the environment will thrive while their country and their people continue to have and see economic growth and the value from that economic growth. So really the role of a green economy is pivotal in these next few years. And policy is one part of it. We're needing to see policy reform, and we're needing to see governments put in strong, not only policy reform, but policy frameworks that trickle down into regulatory compliance, where there is clear accountability at various levels, from the corporates to businesses, the SME sized businesses, as well as the community groups and individuals who are all part of this policy framework, where it's not just the big guys getting the mandates or the slaps on the wrists or the compliance sort of sanctions around what they're doing, but it's also that people, that community groups, that individuals are being impacted by this, so that they can be part of the process of change. They can be part of this shift into a more sustainable consumption, production, development economy, where the life cycle of development is highly efficient, highly integrated, clean, renewable, and moving towards a green economy. So sorry if I'm a bit slow with my words. I'm taking time to process all the things that I'm bringing together in my mind as well. So a green economy looks at the macro system, right? So there are macro economies and there are micro economies, and it all needs to change sort of at all levels, at a micro level as well as macro. But a green economy is really looking overall at the whole macro system approach. How can we focus more on investing in green activities, in infrastructure, and the skills development that's needed for a country? How can we look at policies and practices that need to change so that we can start to see the capacity building and the effective implementation of these economic reforms, so that the green economy can continue to thrive? These sorts of collaborative work together. Hey, Catherine, how's it going? How are you from Chicago? This sort of work collectively can help support a green economy as it transitions, as it takes full speed. And in terms of this macro scale, there is a lot of partnerships that also need to happen, private and public partnerships that need to come into play, where it's not only between public and private, but it's also between industry and research, where the research, the wonderful work that is happening in research facilities around the world, is then being used in a practical sense, being implemented in a way that that communities and countries can benefit from the information that we find in these research rooms. And R&D is a key part of driving this economic change, because for a long time, really, there is, the research and development, and it sort of happens separately, and then out comes a paper and that's done. the researchers have done their job. But there is much more to this now, where we're needing to collaborate a lot more frequently, and work together to apply the learnings of, say, for example, how can we use solar heating in large scale capacity and in a way that is modular and dynamic, so that we can turn on and off large sections of a manufacturing facility to ensure that there is efficient usage of energy. So yes, it's green, and yes, it's using solar, but also how can it be more efficient? How can it be more modular and adaptable to the needs of the operations in question? So really, there is a lot of different moving pieces. It's an economy, right? It's complex, and there's obviously a lot of moving parts. So in order to address all of those moving parts and think about things more holistically, working together with people who know more about areas that we don't is a really important part of that. And that's where these collaborative relationships play a really important role. So working with research teams and working with private and public groups and organizations, really key part of driving the green economy. So ultimately, there are three areas, right? When we're looking at this kind of macro scale economy, there are three areas. So one is advocacy of the macroeconomic approach that is a green economy, that is going to support sustainable growth, that is going to support regional and sub-regional and national changes. There is that advocacy piece that's really important. Then we have to demonstrate, how does this actually work? So how does a green economy actually work, with a focus on, with a central focus of that financial piece? How does it trickle down into a decentralized approach towards each individual project, each individual collaboration, and how does that come together into that overall economic piece? So there's that demonstration around that. And then finally, support from countries. And that's not just nationally, so a country on its own, but how can countries together then work, through global interactions, through global agreements and ideas where they support each other in this green economy space. And so policies and sanctions play an important role in that. The carbon border tax, that's another one where, countries have come together and said that there needs to be a carbon border tax where companies who are, putting out a lot of emissions can then be put to light when they're sorry, I've lost my train of thought, can be brought to the stage really when they are going past their carbon border limitations. And so the carbon border tax is a good example of countries coming together to come up with a collaborative way that they can address the carbon budget, they can address the carbon problem, and they can make sure that companies are being held accountable for their actions, especially in the supply chain. Because if you don't know this already, the supply chain is probably the biggest emitter of carbon emissions. I mean, it's anywhere from 40 to 95%. It's probably actually 60 to 95% of emissions for the most part, for most organizations, just because so much of your emissions come from your transport, your logistics, your movement of goods. And so really looking at the supply chain is a key part of this as well. So as I said, partnerships play an important role, and they need to happen at a regulatory level, where there is a change in the way the institution is set up, and what sort of tariffs are in place, what sort of subsidies are in place, what sort of guarantees and compliance and regulatory systems are in place. Then it needs to go down into business. who gets the financial share, who is in charge of that technical innovation, all of those things in terms of business and how the business works to support more and more green initiatives to take sort of form in this new economy. And of course, the citizens being willing to be a part of this, to pay a higher dollar for a better quality product or a more green product and a better environmentally friendly lifestyle. And that's really why the citizens, the individuals, they play an important role in working together with businesses, with government, collectively working together to support this green economy. So there are, as I said, it's complex. There are a lot of moving parts, and it's certainly something that is taking traction really quickly. And now it's a matter of spreading that awareness and driving that further. And tools like the circular economy, tools like the donut economy, they play an important role in supporting this piece. So none of it is really is separate. None of it is really in isolation. It does all ultimately come together for that unified goal, which is that we want to be able to live harmoniously with our natural ecosystem. And that means creating systems that are regenerative, that are distributive, that support that harmony. So that's really what it's all about. Hey, Ed, thanks for joining. I appreciate you being here. And that's really what a green economy is all about. So thank you for listening to me. I appreciate it. There are times when I take a little bit of time with my words, and today was one of those days. But I appreciate you still being here and sitting with me and listening to me. And if you have any questions, if you have any thoughts, please feel free to share them. I'd love to have a chat with you about this offline as well. So reach out. I'm here to help. And I really appreciate you again for being here. There'll be another Shift Hub chat next week. So look forward to you joining me then. Take care of yourselves. And if you celebrate Easter, have an incredible Easter. And I'll talk to you all soon. Bye.